Hi, how you doing? So I just reached level 80 with the Death Knight yesterday, and I've just logged in today and I thought I'll record a quick little vlog video just talking about my experiences and where I think you should level if you are considering leveling up from 70 to 80, which is the Northrend zones in World of Warcraft Wrath Classic. So I started off in Howling Ford. It looks pretty, but it's actually very slow to level in. There's a lot of long distances you have to travel. There's a lot of high cliffs and then getting around it. It was fun, but it was actually one of the worst zones to level. So if you were to be really efficient here, just for the start of the video, I will give you the information you need. Borean Tundra is by far the best, 10 out of 10. You can level stupidly fast here. Really, really efficient. Skull or Sholazar Basin, that's like 8 to 9 out of 10. Lots of stuff to kill. Bear in mind, I played on a PvE server, Giantstalker. It's one of the new ones, the fresh ones that came out. So if you're playing PvP server, this might change for you. However, my experiences on a PvE server, without being pestered too much by too many other players, that's the order. Borean Tundra, Sholazar Basin. Surprisingly, Storm Peaks was actually really quick. I did it within like 3 hours, and I thought this was going to be one of the longer ones because of all the travel time, but surprisingly, each little section was pretty efficient. So, very good there. I would give that basically a 9 out of 10, really. But this place looks so nice. Sholazar Basin. The very starting part of Suldrak is like a 8 out of 10. So lots of creeps, lots of quests. Although they are a little bit spread, it's not ideal, but you can do these quests really quickly. As soon as you start getting into this area, maybe you just want to do the first bits, but you should be just basically buggering off out of here. Unless you want to stick around for the amphitheater, but only do that if it's not busy. If it's busy, don't waste your time. And Grizzly Hills was super, super good. That's like a 7 out of 10. I was actually surprised. I thought it was going to start slowing down, but I kept going, and I would say on average my levels were about 3 hours to 3 hours and a half per level. It actually started off the slowest and got fastest towards the end, believe it or not, with Storm Peaks being the fastest. Ice Crown was a bit slower because I got a bit more stubborn. So speaking of which, Ice Crown, I'd give that a 7 out of 10. It's quite a depressing zone, but it's kind of quick, actually, when it comes to questing. The only downside, the big downside, is if you have a slow flying speed mount. You want a fast flying speed mount because, oh boy, you are going to be flying from here to here to here to here to here to here over and over. So you will notice it. The speeds have been buffed for the slowest flying mount, which is at least better than it used to be, but you're not going to be zooming like you would be. As for Onslaught Harbor, I did the last 2 quests, which you shouldn't really do, but I managed to solo those as my Death Knight. I swapped over to Blood Spec for that, and that was fun, but that definitely wasted my time. Otherwise, I would have hit about 3 hours. My fastest was 2 hours 58 minutes in Storm Peaks. So, Dragon Blight, more like Dragon Shite. This place, at the very start, is at least kind of okay. I don't know if it's better for the Horde. Again, I played as Alliance here, so they might differ from Alliance and Horde. But as soon as I got over to Winterguard Keep, my goodness, it slowed down. I got a quest to go into a mine to get some ore, and wow, that took some serious time. In fact, I didn't even do it. That's when I stopped doing Dragonblight. I was just like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm normally OCD where I will just do a zone until I finished it completely. But I've been following a guide, Rested XP. You will have to pay for this if you do want to go for it. It's free from level 0 to 30 or the starting Death Knight zone. But beyond that, it will cost you money. But I wanted to give it a go. It's essentially like, you know when you go to a website like Wowhead or something and you look up a quest and you just want to find the comment that tells you exactly what it is you need to do? That's basically what this is. And it's a step-by-step guide. So it just kill the skeletal runesmiths in the area, loot them for their plates. It's straightforward, tells you what you need to do, sort of where you need to go. Very, very useful. Probably a big reason why I leveled up a bit quicker. Those of you might actually decide to level up in dungeons, actually. That's a possibility, but I didn't do that, so I can't speak to that myself. So, in order of the best zones to level in from sort of a speed run perspective, I would say Borean Tundra, Storm Peaks, Sholazar Basin, the very start bit of Saldrak, Grizzly Hills. Ice Crown is also up there. It's debatable with Ice Crown because of the flying mount. If you have a very fast flying mount, then that would basically surpass Saldrak and Grizzly Hills. But if you don't, then I would say it's maybe behind those. And then Howling, Dragonblight and Howling Fall. I would say Dragonblight is actually better than Howling Fall. Howling Fall is the worst because there's so much weird travel and it looks clunkier than it actually is. It looks more straight flying. Basically, the thing that was only good about Saldrak was the fact that you could go straight up and down or left and right and you were heading in the right direction. You know, flat terrain. When you start getting into terrain that's going to be like really tricky, you'd think it would be, for the most part, it's bad. Which is why Storm Peaks was surprising to me because it was actually one of the quicker ones. Despite all these kind of cliff types and whatnot. But you get flying at level 77. If you don't have the money to get a flying mount for whatever reason, you can get a free one at K3. But you need to be level 77. And you can train cold weather training from the flight trainers. So that might be in K3. That might be in Sholazar Basin, in the River's Heart, or in Dalaran. So that's something to consider. I haven't done Wintergrasp yet. But those are my experiences basically leveling up. Aesthetically, the best zones for me, in case you're curious, actually, Sholazar Basin. I really like this place. I would say that Grizzly Hills is probably the most beautiful, but I really like the jungle vibe, and the music was so good, actually, in Sholazar Basin. I kind of just like those two zones. Anything after that, like, aesthetically isn't that great, although Howling Ford, actually, you know what, that's an easy third, actually. It's basically like a less over the top version of Grizzly Hills. It's Grizzly Hills is just like super dense and beautiful. This is more sort of if you spread out that density and beauty, and it's still there, but it's just more spread out. So Sholazar, Grizzly, Howling Ford, and then I don't know, the other zones, they're all kind of the same. Like Borean Tundra is probably the most ugly, I would suppose. But I imagine that doesn't bother you too much when it comes to choosing to level. So you might be leveling up a Death Knigh. I chose to level up as Unholy. So going all the way down here and then like a bunch of points into Blood. But if you were struggling and wanted to do group content, or you wanted to solo particularly difficult bosses, it helps to have a Blood spec. That, you know, you can get some health back consistently when you're attacking. And if you're using Blood, make sure you use Frost Presence. If you're in Unholy, make sure you use Unholy Presence. And I don't think there's that much else I need to say. I just wanted to do a quick little vlog video because why not? This was my experience leveling up. I really had a good time. Very nostalgic going through all of the zones. And there was a lot of moments where it was like, I recognize that place. I recognize that place. Oh, I know where this is, or this is where that is. And sometimes you know that before you get there, and then other times you get there, and then suddenly it's just like your brain just like plays this video of you like 12, 13 years ago doing this quest in that area. You know, for example, when I went into Dragonblight over Molokai Harbor or something, there was like a quest there, I believe, and I just remembered being on my druid, like picking up these items, and it was weird because it's just like my brain just imprinted that. But that's been like in the back of my head for like goodness knows how many years. So yeah, I mean, I just thought I'd do a little video here and thought it'd let you guys know what was going on. So I'm going to continue with the Death Knigh, probably now working on the reputations. That might be another thing you want to consider if you're going into leveling, is what factions you want to prioritize. If you're a Death Knight, then Ebon Knight. So Ebon Knight, you want to get the good stuff here. They got lots of lovely items, and you would want to do Ice Crown in that case. So all of the quests in Ice Crown would probably sort you out quite well for Knights of the Ebon Blade. So Argent Crusade, that's like Soul Drak, Sons of Hodir, that's a good one for everyone. They get the good inscriptions that they can apply to their shoulders. So that's Storm Peaks. So you think about what you might want to work on your character and how it suits you, and which ones are like important and which ones aren't. And some of you might want to do the Wrathgate. So you want to work on Dragonblight for that one, but I haven't. So I did like the Wrathgate, but I didn't like the Dragonblight. And the other thing would be that I've made about 5,000 to 6,000 gold, I would say, I'd say about 5,500, leveling up from 70 to 80, roughly. Because I spent 1,000 or 850 on cold flying, but otherwise everything else that I fended or, you know, sold, it's basically come to about 5,000-ish, give or take. I haven't leveled up my engineering beyond 350 nor my enchanting, so that's going to take a whack out of that cash. I still need to get epic flying mount, but you can expect to make about 4,000 to 5,000, maybe a bit more if you're lucky on item drops as you're leveling through the expansion. So with that said and done, I just wanted to give my initial thoughts here. If you're watching this video and you made it to this point, thanks for watching and have a nice day. Take care.